Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation D.C.B, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High King of the universe, Yehudah, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Send everyone out there early Shabbat Shalom, praying that the Most High God is bringing you blessings even on this day, and that the Most High God has prospered the works of your hands throughout the week. Like I said, glorifying this mighty King for all the things that he does for us, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, for allowing us to be able to be functional. And even if we feel any kind of pain or any discomfort at this time, thanking God that we are able to feel those pains and those discomforts, that means that we're still in the land of the living and we still have a chance, right? So we pray for all the sick, the downtrodden, the poor, the needy, the fatherless, the widow, those who are in need, and those who need the help. We all need God's help, but some more than others. So we pray that the Creator of heaven and earth be with all of you, giving due respect to the leader of our congregation, even my brother Chief Prince Yediel Ben Yissaskar, praying that the Most High God be with him, his family, and his household, that the Most High God will protect them and keep them and bless them. Praying that the Most High God be with the whole entire house of Yisrael, all of you who listen, all of you who diligently listen to our show on a weekly basis. We pray that the Most High God be with you all, protect you, and keep you. Before we get started, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And after you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that every time we upload a new video or we go live, you will be notified and you will be able to log on with us. So thanking you all for joining us, and I pray that the Most High God will continue to bless each and every one of you. At this time, we're going to move straight ahead, and I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, who will be going over the portion of Mishpatim. So I turn it over to Nasik Zurishaddai Ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Brother Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligence in the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform more on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Ariel Ben Saska, to the host, Chief Uzael, to the Princess Chief, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters, visitors to the channel. I greet you all and tell my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off with Adonai, Septai, Ditako, Viyagi, Tila, Theaka. Oh Lord, open down my lips and mouth to declare that praise. First, I'd like to give a nice little shout out to the congregation of Beit Shalom, Ethiopian Hebrew congregation. Before I go over the Sidra, the stellar Black History Month Shabbat that they had. They had a lot of distinguished clergy members showing up in various congregations. I just shout out a few. I normally leave out some, but I believe I'll get most of them anyway. Which was you had of course the host Rabbi Yeshurun, who was actually the spiritual leader of Beit Shalom Ethiopian Hebrew congregation. Then you had great members such as Rabbi Shlomo Ben Levi, the son of the late Chief Rabbi Ben Levi. You had guys like Rabbi Eliyahu from Bethel, Temple Bethel in Philly, Rabbi Shlomo from the Temple of Philly, Rabbi Chief Binyami, which most of y'all know from this channel, who happened to be there. You had the spiritual leader from D.C.B. as well, Chief Prince Ariel Ben Yasaska. Yeah, he had the presiding Rabbi Eliyahu from Ahava Shalom congregation of in Jersey, which turned out with quite a few people that come from Jersey into to the cause. He had distinguished rabbis such as Rabbi Goodman from the Reform Temple that showed up. You had Rabbi Baruch, you had Rabbi from BINAH, you had quite a few other people. Let me see if I'm omitting some of the people. Plus, of course, you had a guy by Gad, Ariat Ben Gad, who had his sons that did a stellar performance, and going into the Musaf and closing up for the morning service. So yeah, and what was so enlightening about that, before I proceed, is that using the words of famous Rodney King, "Can we all get along?" Where they were getting along at that thing, and it wasn't about just all black people. It was other people that, and that wasn't, black people, of skin color, but they shared, especially the rabbi from the Reform Temple on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. He has shared his father's experience from Columbus, Georgia, during the 50s, 60s, and stuff like that, concerning the civil rights marches. And that's what's one of the things to think about, is that leading to this particular sidra, when we go into a sidra called Mishpatim, which is judgments or laws, in that sense, that is about being, either it's justice for all or it's justice for none, and that's what makes this so exciting. That I had a great time. The hosting congregation was very welcoming. He had some great dynamic speakers that came up. Also, I almost omitted my protege, Chief Prince Hezekiah Ben Yehudah, and his right hand man, Prince Mikael. So I'm glad I got that in. So how could I forget my protege from Shalom, and he brought quite a few members from his congregation as well. So and it's a good thing. Looking at I'm sure the chief rabbi of the Israelite rabbinic board, Rabbi Capers from Ney, would will feel real and enlightening and invigorated, knowing that some of the people that trained under the Israelite Rabbinic Academy has extended themselves to be more of an international movement and working with people that has a God's sent mind. So with all that being said, I don't believe I left out anybody too much at that time. Yeah, they had various congregations. They have people from Mount Horeb. Like I said, Shemaim, which I already mentioned, my proteges from there. Temple Bethel, they had membership from there. Ahava Shalom, they had membership from there. You had people from the Reform congregation that was there, and people from various locations. Plus I was there too. So I really had a great time in worship service. That's the most important part. That most times when you come to worship, in some places, it might be a crowd, but you might feel alone. But in this particular situation, which is in some congregations, or more often than not, that when you come to worship, you don't feel so alone. You feel supported. And that's one of the great things, that when you come to worship, you feel supported and not alone. When you go to a congregation and you get ready to worship and praise the Creator, and you feel that you're alone, then you got to look around, and say, am I in the correct area or not? So that's one of the things I wanted to say, And outside of that, next week, when I get ready to do this review, I'll be in warmer climates in that sense. And my condolences for those that lost memberships. We lost quite a few members. So just one of the bittersweet times that I was up here that we had a few members from the community that passed that I was 3 members, but I'm only, be able to attend, basically 2 funerals while I'm up here. And that's the elder Naaman from Shaba, who had made transition. My condolences go out to the family, and also to a brother from BINAH from where I'm originally from, Chief Joshua Ben Levy. And my condolences go out to the family, who's also, related to the Chief Prince Uriel Ben Saska from D.C.B. So with that saying, let me move on to an interesting portion of the Sidra, which is the Mishpatim. And I know right now I won't finish a lot. I'm gonna leave a lot of stuff on the table, but I'm gonna try to, share and highlight certain points. But basically, that's what I do: try to highlight certain points. One of the things about this particular chapter is that Mishpatim itself, which means judgments, or different. Some people say laws. When we think of that, we find out that in this particular Sidra, that starts with Exodus the 21st chapter and concludes at the end of the 24th chapter, it deals with has more than has 53 laws in this particular portion, and that's more laws in this particular portion of a Sidra than pretty much any other Sidra. And also that after 53, you have 23 positive commandments and 30 negative commandments. Now, what is very interesting is that these laws here that's coming in this particular portion is so highly discussed, more so than any other portion in the scriptures amongst the sages in the Talmud. Because and which also unique. I like to start off by saying that we start off in here where it says, now the 21st chapter, it says, now these are the ordinances which thou shalt set before them. Now in the Hebrews, and where Ele Mishpatim, and these are the sentences or the judgments or the ordinances. Now, what is unique within this within the scriptures, and especially more so in this area here, we have, and this and let you know that it ties in to the last Sidra Yithro, and Matan Torah, when God spoke all these words, saying, and why is this coming now separate when it should have actually been stated right then in the last portion of Yithro when God spoke? And we just learning this here from Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, our teacher. And what we find out here is this, that when God spoke at Mount Sinai to all of us there, we couldn't stand it. We prepared ourselves, and we thought we truly was prepared until that great day when we seen all the stage, as I would say, activity, where our eyes was able to, be able to see sound, and our ears is able to see. So now we got eyes that's, become audio, and you got ears that became sight. So that was a drama in itself, where we say we didn't want to hear from God anymore unless we die. We elected to hear from Moshe. So now that's why And these are the ordinances you should set before them. That's when Moses drew to the thick darkness where God was, and they got these particular commands, independent of the tablets that we talk about later on, which we're going to discuss within this particular sidra just briefly. But what else is interesting is that we have what they call adut, which is testimonies, and then we have which all nations on the planet have, some kind of testimonies. And I'm because we have three things that we make up, our system of, I would say, government. You have adut, which is testimonies, and you have what they call, Mishpatim, which is basically, judgments and sentences itself. And then you have CHOKMAH, which is those things, just statutes, stuff like that, that defines understanding. Now, adut, two of the things I mentioned after three, when we're talking about adut, which is testimonies, and we talk about, in the sense of Mishpatim, every nation on the planet got some sort of that. When it comes to CHOKMAH, that's the unique one. Now, I'm just going to give you some examples as we move forward. That adut itself, when we're talking about testimonies, in this country, we got 4th of July. It's testifying that, they declared they got the independence. You got other things in this country here that they they observe. When they think about Veterans Day, Memorial Day, those become testimonies. With us, we have Pesach testifying that God redeemed us. So that's a testimony, and it also could fall into another category, with certain things. But I'm just leave it general right now, which is Pesach is testimony. All the Shalosh Regalim, Shavuot is a testimony. God spoke with us from Mount Sinai, so we was out there, and we had our revelation with God. So that's a testimony, and also Sukkot, which say, well, we dwelt in booths, and it's a memorial that we came from. We dwelt in booths when we left the land of Egypt, and we was in the wilderness. Those are testimonies. So every nation have their Declaration of Independence and things that's unique to their nation that they observe. So that's nothing strange. But then when we go into the next area, Mishpatim itself, we have every nation have rules about stealing. Now, it may not be rules exactly like we have concerning stealing, but every nation have rules of theft, rules of conduct, rules of business. Every nation have that exists on the planet. Even a band of criminals got certain rules that they adhere to. And then we go into the CHOKMAH, and those things which we can't have no other reason for observing it other than this is the will of the Creator. Now, everything we read in the Tanakh will be pretty much the will of the Creator, but there's certain things we could rationalize, we could understand, we could get with, in the intellectual level. And there's some things we cannot conceive of on the intellectual level, such as the torah adoma, the red heifer. How is something that making someone clean and unclean at the same time? We can't understand that. Why is it that we got to eat kosher? With certain animals we can eat and certain animals we can't eat. Why is that? Simply because the Creator said, but it's not telling us any other reason of health benefits. So much so that if you partake of the ones that we're not supposed to eat, you're only unclean to the evening. That means it's not even a 24-hour cycle most of the times. So those are some that's, defy rationalities. Oh, and like Shabbat is a due too. It's a testimony. And when we observe Shabbat, that's the most important part of the effort for us to do. Testimonies in the sense that we testify the Creator created the world. So we have, a lot of things that we observe, and those things there is part of the makeup of the, as they say, 365 laws, statutes, and judgments that's throughout enumerated throughout the scriptures. 613. Excuse me, 613. There's 365 negatives and 248 about positive. So 365 altogether. So what we learn here is that we're getting some extra laws that we could have got from the Creator firsthand. And if God would have told us it directly firsthand, we wouldn't have a problem understanding it. So now, as we go forward, the first thing to talk about in the second verse is, if thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the seventh he shall go out free for nothing. If he come in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he be married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master give him a wife, and she bear him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her masters. And it says, and he shall go out by himself. But if the servant shall plainly say, and the fifth verse I like people to pay close attention to. It says, I love my master, my wife, and my children. I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto God, which is basically the judges, people of status, and shall bring him to the door or unto the doorpost of his master, and his master shall bore his ear through with the oar, and he shall serve him forever. Now, when we read it in English, we get the misconception of servitude and slavery. And we always have a lot of discussion around, about that area. And I tend to focus on two words, Ebed, which is a servant, and Poel, which is a worker, which is also, the verb. Using Ebed, mostly working for somebody most of the times. All right. But Poel, usually an independent worker, which the Creator describes certain things concerning himself. He don't work for anyone. He works for himself. Poel also is a verb, a verb, which is the call form, which is simple or plain light form. And it's about action. The Creator is always doing things, always on the move. We have an active God. Ebed take time off, and yet, we don't have a jurisdiction over our servant on Shabbat. That's interesting. But now I'd like to go into some of the other things on it and speak on this just briefly. How is it that we are people that came out of Egypt being reduced to slaves, and the first thing after Matan Torah, we talk about a certain type of slavery or servitude? That would be the worst thing for most people, that we will say, well, we're looking to address. We're going to address other stuff. Why about, business dealings? Why about certain things concerning worship? Why certain things concerning marriages and stuff of that nature? Why is the first thing right after Matan Torah and God spoke with us that we decide to talk about this particular topic, which we should say that's taboo? We should be scarred with that kind of, subject matter. And most of all, it ain't talking about anybody now when we're starting off with this topic. It started with a Hebrew And which is interesting, the first time you find, somebody being called that as our father Abram, before his name was changed to Abraham in the 14th chapter, 13th verse of Genesis. And they call Abram, a Hebrew, the Hebrew, one from the other side. And Hebrew means one from the other side, one to cross beyond. Now, why is that term, used there? And when the Creator addressed, told Moses to address Pharaoh, besides the part when he says, Israel's my son, Israel, Israel's my firstborn, he said that I am God of the Hebrews, the Hebrews. So now that is, something, because with the name Yisrael, you shouldn't be a servant. That's why it's even, it's spoken more in depth in the prophecy. Israel's servant or homeborn slave, then why is he spoiled? So when we look at this area here and we say, okay, now we're going to talk about slavery again. And it's talking about the Hebrew slave, not no Moabite slave, not no Hittite slave, about a Hebrew slave. And say somebody's able to buy us. Usually, that is a negative to think about. Somebody can, actually, you got a price tag on you where somebody can actually purchase you. There's always a negative in the sense that we say, well, what's your value? Well, I'm worth such an amount. That's a negative. Your true value is what you worth before the Creator, which man shouldn't be able to buy, because your true value is what is your standing with the Creator. But anyway, how do one procure this Hebrew servant as we go forward? And when we look at it, is that one procure the Hebrew servant, two ways you could buy a man that's, and they notice they don't say Israelites, they just say Hebrew servant, in that sense. And there's always other controversies about terminology when we look at it in English, but we have to understand the culture that we actually lived in. And when an individual buy a Hebrew servant, it's two ways. One, somebody was stealing, and we'll find that in the law. And since he was stolen some merchandise and can't afford to pay it, we don't lock him up and support him for stealing and then leave the other person destitute. We try to remedy the victim's situation. So if an individual stole and he can't afford to pay back what he stole, then a court will sell this individual to somebody in order for the victim to get compensated. Now we have in this society, somebody steal, whatever the case is, you lock them up and they become an expense of the state. But the victim say, I got justice. That's not justice, because you lock an individual up and you got to support him, maintain him, health-wise and everything. And the victim is still out of what he lost. So that's not, justice on a divine level. All right. So, and then it might be another situation where a person might sell himself. We call that hiring ourselves out, in a sense. And some people hire out for a day and some people hire out for a good while. And I'm gonna give you just one example, but it's many examples because, like I said, it's volumes of discussion on this here particular topic alone. And it's interesting because we're talking about Black History, and we're doing Black History Month, and this topic happened to come up. What is unique is that an individual might say, I'm not good at farming. Though I'm raised up on a farm, I'm not good on that. I'm not successful in working the land, because we was agrarian people. I'm not good at being shepherd. That's not what I do. That's not even what I like. but I need to make a living. I need to earn things, so I got a family or whatever the case is. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I could work for Kushim. I'm going to see if I could work for Kushim and say, all right, I'm going to sell myself to you for 6 years as a hired servant. Now, for 6 years, and I must bring this out too. And they say the 7th year you go free. Now, but the interesting thing is to use the word, we know the word miketz from in the years, from Genesis. But laketz means to actually have an end, an end, like a cut, and you have an end. So most people would think he worked 6 years, and you say, okay, at the end of the 7th year, or the beginning of the 7th year. So the book makes it clear, later on that at the end, he worked 6 years, and at the end of 7 years, which is you have two ends. When you cut something, you have two ends. So it's the beginning of the 7th year. So he only would do 6. When the 7th year rolled by, he's done. And he might work for you simply because of that, because I said, I need to, earn me some money to try to develop. Maybe you could teach me and the same thing, because I'm doing what you say. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. And also, if I have a family, you support my family, so you support my family, but I'm earning your support by working. My wife is not your servant. My children is not your servant. I'm your servant. So therefore, you're supporting, me, and my wife and my family, but you only could have authority over me to say, okay, do this or do that. Not over my wife, not over my children. Though you are supporting them, by way of me working for you. And what is interesting with as we're going to go further, and I'm going to explore this because there's such a real emotional subject about working for another individual, and that's I believe one of the factors is that we are told more so about how to treat a servant or a slave, and also a stranger. We're told how to deal with those people from an emotional relationship, not just from a law. We're saying never been there, never done that, but from an emotional relationship, we're told how to deal with that, these individuals. But then it goes on to say, so there's only two ways a Hebrew can be a servant. I need a job. I'm not good at this. If I work with you, I might learn this particular trade or that particular trade. And that way I can earn a living. And you take care of me. And if I got a wife, you're taking care of her. If I'm by myself, that's it. Now, if he give him a wife, and so the master will say, okay, a happy slave will be a better working slave. So I give him a family. When a man have a family, he say, I not only have a responsibility to myself, I got a responsibility for the people that's my family, even though they didn't come with me. Also, I have a comfort. I'm not going to be wondering how life passing me by. I'm looking at this person or that person. I'm still able to create a offspring, a family in this situation. All right. Now, the woman that the master would give him wouldn't be a Hebrew, of course, because we're not allowed, to make holics of the, daughters of Israel. So it'd be some other outsider, somebody that's non-Hebrew, which is, I don't have time to go into all the different situation, but it is anybody other than Hebrew that he would give to this Hebrew man to make a family with. Now, sometimes people might say, that's all right. I don't want a wife in this condition, because I want purebred children. Though the children will be Hebrew like him, because what your father are. But I want purebred. So I'll stay like I am for these 6 years. I could stay celibate for 6 years and do what I got to do. That way, I can move on. But some people might say, okay, I want to start making children now while still able to, produce children. Now, after that, then he already going to the contract knowing that if we do only 6 years, the children that he sired still belong to the master, and the wife definitely belongs to the master. All right. So now, and we got to understand the culture. Don't sound too glamorous either. And then as we get further, in the 5th verse, the man don't want to leave after 6 years. But notice that he says, and he said plainly, I love my master, my wife, and my children. You mean to tell me that the man have more of a feeling and love for his master than his wife, for the boss man than his wife? That's kind of strange. And then the children on the end. All right. Now, the master himself, he's part of the master's household for the time being, working for him. But the master's never, related, not saying related in that sense. The wife is an alien. Your children is your offspring. So now, in that order, you have more affection for your master than your wife, and then you got more affection for your wife than your children, which is supposed to be your future. So already, that's like a strange ideology to conceive of. Because most men would say, I want my children. I'm more into my children. We know Jacob loved Raquel, but he definitely loved his children. And that's one of the things that we talk about. We know that even the great Abraham had affection for his wife Sarai, who he knew all his life. But what mattered for him most was thy son, whom thou loveth. That's what mattered to him most. That was the test. Not the wife being a test, but the son being a test. So, and they have, this thing where we, common sages say that we use our children as guarantors to follow Torah's law, follows the Creator's law. And that's because we're talking about our future, the continuation of doing this here. If I just say, I'm going to do it, and my children are not going to do it, then that's not a good investment for God. But if I raise my children to serve this same God, then that is even an investment for the Creator going forward. So that's and then the master bore his ear through to a doorpost. The master must do this here. And when the master do that to the doorpost, and basically his doorpost, and the master himself supposed to do that. Now, that, is always, is always an analogy from oral interpretation where they say, that the Creator himself already said in the beginning of the Decalogue, in the last chapter, that I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Therefore, shall have no other gods before me. We was brought out to serve God, not to serve man. And since we was brought out to serve the Creator of heaven and earth, and not to serve man, and here, man, that say, I'd rather have a master of a human being like myself, as opposed to the master of heaven and earth. So the ears that all heard that, and he wanted to be reduced to that, is one thing. Now, just going forward, we will get to it in this particular thing. Even if you said that in the year of the Yovel, which is the Haftorah, Jeremiah speaks about it in the book of Jeremiah. In the year of the Yovel, you have the proclamation, but you find more of it, I think, in the book of Leviticus, maybe 25th chapter, when they talk about the Yovel, the Jubilee, and that all are sent free. The children. Now, the woman, it still would be the master, even though you love, but the children, being their seed and blood, would stick, belong to the father. You could go out there in that sense. So now we got this other situation where it says, and I'm just going to read this and I'm going to skip around a little bit. If a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she should not go out as the men servants do. And the Hebrew term is a little different here. So, and if she please not her master, who have espoused her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. So that means that a man sell his daughter, help clear debts. You like her, marry my daughter. This is what it's going to cost if you want to marry her. And of course, hopefully, my daughter don't mind getting married to this individual. So, and the master, and spouses, so it's like an engagement. And, and that's when a man would sell his daughter, but it's okay. Then he said, let her be redeemed. To sell her to a foreign people, he should have no power, seeing he had dealt deceitfully with her. Now, deceitfully with her, the book is being very, very nice in this thing. I brought her. I might have did something, what grown folks do. And all of a sudden say, nah, I'm not interested in it. Then after that, you got to be redeemed. And though she would have been a wife, it's on a different thing about divorce. It's a different thing. She was still a merchandise that was purchased. So when a father sell his daughter into a situation like that, he got to be very, very careful about how he said selling to his daughter into a merchandise to clear his debt, to help himself out. And also most times people might sell their daughter into a situation, figure that's a affluent family, so perhaps you get the kind of lifestyle and living that I'm not accustomed to giving to you, or I'm not able to give to you at this time. But that brings a lot of serious baggage. That's why so much discussion going on in this particular area here, which just won't be able to get into scratch the surface on. And then it says, and to sell it to a foreign people, he shall have no power, seeing he dealt deceitfully. So then already he was wrong if you don't please him. And if he espouse her to his sons, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take another wife, him or the son, depends on who marry her food, her raiment, and her conjugal rights shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out for nothing without money. Now, these three, suppose you run on hard times. How you purchase her? Maybe, and you run on hard times like that, maybe, God's not working with you, in that sense. So if she got a complaint, she could go out. If you took another wife. That's only if you take another wife. If you don't take another wife and she's the only wife, your only wife, then those three things does not apply. But if you take another wife along with her, then those three things apply. Now you say, okay, we all age up a little bit. You know, we might have was super, you know what I mean, robust at one time in my life, male and female. And then later on, if you purchase her, most likely you're going to purchase somebody far younger than you are at that time. And time would take its toll. So now you say, oh, I got money, let me buy me another one. Like that. Or give me another wife. One way or another. Whether we buy one or hook up with one, you know, to another process. And like I said, it's a lot of discussion going on. You can always come with the different scenarios. So if you're going to be a lawyer or a judge, this is the chapter to really look into because so many variables, etc. And so if you take a time, you slow down. You know, run as fast. You know, do as many push-ups. You're not as flexible. You know, at that time, say, okay, I was the one and only. Now you got an extra one. After this time, I got a complaint. So this cautions how we deal with family and relationships and taking advantage of people that might fall into a certain situation or slot-wise economically. All right, and so there's a lot more to be discussed in those particular areas there. A lot more to be discussed in those areas. And then we talk about, you know, we go into the area of manslaughter. And it says, he that smiteth a man so that he died shall surely be put to death. That's very simple. And if a man lie not in wait, but God cause it to come to hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he may flee. All right. So those, you know, I mean, if, you know, people, you know, and they say, why you got to flee? All right. It could have been an accident or whatever the case is, but then we have other situations that go on, which we talk about in this book, which I'm not going to be able to highlight much, you know, in this book. You know, but one is considered a manslaughter, and one was considered a murder in the 14th verse. It says, and if a man come presumption upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from my altar that he may die. Why did he say from my altar? You know, why not say from his house? You know, why not say from, you know, I mean, I caught him in the bar. You know, why focus on from my altar? You know, that's referring that even if he's the priest, it could be a high priest. And we had some corrupt priests, high priests. You know, we had some corrupt high priests. But even if he's a priest and he goes, you know, and slays somebody and causes somebody to die, he himself, your job is finished. God don't want you acting on behalf of his people, and you are put to death. And yet, the word is in book. You have it saying, you know, touch not my anointing, do my prophet no harm. The high priest is always anointed. So even if it's a priest, that don't exempt him, right, for a murder. And then 15, and he that smites his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. In the commandments, and now some of these is already spoken on in the commandments, you know, thou shalt not commit murder. Most people would translate in the King James where thou shalt not kill, but no, thou shalt not commit a murder. And it defines what a murder is. And when they're talking about smiting your parents, today people brag about they beating up their moms, they're beating up their father. But you notice in the order, it's a father or mother. And it's not because the father is, you know what I mean, you know, superior to the mother. It's because most children gravitate to the mother, you know, more so than the father. Most children, under normal circumstances, because that's the first person they know. They get to learn about their father. They get to learn about their other siblings But the first person they really recognize and get to understand and realize that this is the nurturing part, this is the one that's sustaining me, that's their mother. So now, if you hit your father, and then, you can say, okay, I didn't really know him, whatever the case is. And that's why it's important, because these days and times, some people may not know their father. So you got to be careful about who you raise your hand against in a certain situation, because whatever reason, your father may not have been in your life. You meet him out in the street, you get in an argument, and then all of a sudden, you don't like what he say. You're not knowing he's your father. And yet, you're going to say, I'm not taking no more what you said. And punch him in the face. Or beat him down. Of course, you don't like what he say. Now, you might not know he was your father, but that doesn't exempt you. That's why, in that sense. So those things there, and it would probably be going a lot of litigation, but those are some situations you come up with, going through. And we have we got another thing about kidnapping. But it's cursing parents. He that curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Now, when we look at those areas there, the curse them, that means they assume, and some people claim they love God and they hate their parents. Hate their parents, but they love God. No matter what your parents are doing in life, you're not privileged to hate them or dislike them or curse them. I hope you would die. I wish to God that you leave here. You're not allowed to, you're not allowed to do that. And one of the things is, it says, shall surely be put to death. Now, I'm sure we don't know of any cases that went on like that, where that's ever recorded. But knowing people that could do everything violence, imaginable, I'm sure God wouldn't put it there, and have Moses teach us that if things like this didn't go on. We just don't have records in our archives of stuff going on like that in our archives. But, best believe if God stated through the prophet Moshe, then that means right then and there that stuff like this went on. And, I always bring out one of a similar thing, but it's supposed to be an antidote in a sense, like a joke, and that a guy standing before the judge for murder. Well, man, and he murdered his father and mother, and the judge said, "What you're being charged with murder of your father and mother. What do you have to say for yourself before sentencing?" And he replied to the judge, "I need you to let me go free because I'm an orphan." That's a lot of chutzpah, guts. He committed a crime and you want to be going free because now you're in the status of an orphan. So it's and we got cases where today the way the court system in some places is really it's terrible. And let's go a little bit further. I want to bring out a couple more things. And then I'm gonna skip by because it's just so much. Let's deal with the men contend and one smite the other with a stone or his fist, and he died not, but keep his bed. If he rise again and walk abroad upon the staff, then shall he that smote him be acquitted. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and he shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. Now, we discussed this often, especially yesterday when I was in a service. And one of the things is that suppose the individual that got hurt started it. It's to caution you from getting rash and going using physical violence right away. When we read Moses' first encounter, second encounter with Israelites, and he seen two Hebrews striving together, and he spoke to the one that did the wrong. That means, and said, "Why you smite your brother?" Now, there's always a controversy whether he actually physically hit him or just raised his hand to hit him. That that's one area, and that's what caused Moses to have to flee Egypt. Fighting a brother individual, sometimes you could always have an option. Fight or flight. You always have an option. Now, when the option is very limited in certain areas, then that's another thing for the judges to decide. But everything will be dealt with judges. But one of the interesting things is that you're fighting, and most times you hit them with a stone, you meant to really do some serious damage. You're hitting them with the stone first. That means you really meant to put them in a serious situation. And if you hit them with your fist and cause them injury, now suppose you just hit them with your fist and all you did was just knock him down. But he fell over a bunch of chairs or stones and stuff like that, snapped his leg. Well, I just hit him. He was off balance when I hit him, but I just hit him and he fell back. I didn't hit him that hard. That's for you to say, but it was hard enough to fall, make him go back, tumble, snap his leg. Now he got a broke leg. And he can't work. All right, so it teaches us to use reasoning and discussion with one another. So and he caused him to be thoroughly healed. He might not want to use your doctor. Well, I got a doctor over here, man. He gonna give me a discount. No, if you injured me, why would I want to use a doctor you supply me? Because you're gonna get a discount. I don't know if that's the best doctor. That's one you recommend. I would recommend my own doctor to help me get healed. And then, how long going to take for me to get healed? That's another issue. Because I might be milking it. Many of us on the job, when you go on a compensation from an injury on the job, you say, okay, you ready to go back to work yet? I don't know. Some people get used to the compensation more so than going back to work. So those are some of the things to think about as we go forward. But let me just speed on because like I said, it's just so much stuff here. I want to skip into a thing of theft. All right. And because there's so many laws here. And I'm just going to skip over because I know I'm going to have to touch on a few things later on. It says in the 22nd, end of the 21st chapter, going to the 22nd. And if a man steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall pay 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. If the thief be found breaking in and he and be smitten, breaking in and be smitten so that he dieth, there shall be no blood guiltiness for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood guiltiness for him. He shall make restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. Whether he is Israelite or not. If the theft be found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall pay double. All right. So this is important. I have a lot of discussion with a lot of different people with various views on that. When they say a sun be risen upon him. Now, a thief breaking in, most of the time in ancient times, and I spoke on this before, that He gonna break in the house in the daytime, because in ancient times, most people work in the fields in the day, and they sleep at night in their house, but they leave their house in the day. Like many of us today, you got more day workers than you got night workers in this society today. So most people homes are vacated if everybody in there working, in the house. If it's just two people and they're grown up and they're working in the daytime, their home is vacant. That's why I got these alarm systems today. So if you happen to be taking that day off and somebody break in, then the thief is caught. I mean, he's known, breaking in. He's liable for damages, or whatever the case is, and you could see him, you could identify him, in that area there. The thief most times know who they target, and most times they target people they know and people that know them. Now, if it's at nighttime, then the Torah say, you sleeping, he's bold. It's potential that he don't want to be discovered. And so therefore, when he creeping in while he disrespect the sanctity of your privacy. And also the thing is that you don't know what length he's gonna go to if he's that bold to come in the house while you're in the house at night. And you can't really distinguish friend or foe. We didn't have all these here motion lights and stuff like that. So at that time. So that's what it means in that sense. Not that time passed. It's no time pass in that area. It's about whether, when you're allowed to use extreme measures. All right. So I'm gonna skip over here. Some of the stuff I might go over if questions come up concerning this particular portion. But I'm skip down the 22nd chapter when it comes down. Let's deal with borrowing 13. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof not being with it, he shall surely make restitution. If the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good, for it is a hireling. He loses his hire. So, and sometimes, and it's going more in depth in it, but I'm just going to highlight certain parts in the short time I have left, is that if an individual, you got borrowers, that where you got four types of borrowers that's described in Torah. I'm just going to speak on two people. And you got a guy that say, okay, I'm gonna loan you. I'm gonna loan you my ox, because you want to borrow. You want to borrow my ox. No, better yet, let's deal with this one. All right, I'm going away, and I'm gonna allow you to hold on, and I'm gonna leave my ox in your care. All right, so you trust, because I trust you. So I'm gonna leave my ox in your care, and I'm gonna go away. So it's in your care. Take care of my ox. Now, if you take care of the ox, you got to feed him, you got to lock him up, whatever the case is, make sure he don't run away and all that kind of stuff. All right. Now, if something happened to the ox, in that sense, then you could be liable, because you're doing this strictly for the benefit of your neighbor, the benefit of your neighbor. And you said, I'm going to accept all the responsibility that my neighbor would have if it was in his possession, though it's his property. And then you got another one to say, all right, I want to, hire, purchase your ox. I got some fields to plow. All right. The guy said, okay, we got a deal. I'm going to loan you my ox, to help plow your field. I mean, not loan, rent you my ox so you can plow your field. And the ox get injured, hurt, whatever the case is, and die. If you pay for the hiring of the ox, then you pretty much acquitted in that area there. Now, there's another area where You know, if you say, I want to rent your ox, and don't disclose exactly how you're going to use the ox, whatever the case is, then that brings up other scenarios. Or if the owner's with you, when you're using this ox, and he's watching you working the ox, he should know automatically whether you're working him too much or not. He shouldn't, and so you could be acquitted if the owner's with you, you rent the ox, and the ox die while you're working him, and the owner being there with you. Hey, you should have said your ox can't do that much, so you're acquitted. So there's a lot of different variants in this law. I'm just gonna move on, just highlight something. I want to touch on some other stuff. Let's go to 24 first. But yeah, before I go to 24 first, I'm going to go to 29 first. 20th first. And it says, and the stranger thou shalt not wrong, neither shalt thou oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child, if thou afflict them in any wise. For if they cry at all unto me, which is the Creator, I will surely hear their cry. My wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives and your widows. Your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. So it's talking about how you treat people in your society. That's on the weak areas. Women that was a widow, sometimes people take advantage of them, and more so a child that had nobody to defend the household and protect the household. And God become their protector. And in the 24th verse it said, "And you lend money to any of my people, even to the poor, with thee, thou shalt not be to him a creditor." That means not using interest. Neither shall ye lay upon him interest. If thou at all take thy neighbor's garment to pledge, thou shalt restore it unto him. By that the sun goeth down, for that is his only covering. It is his garment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he crieth unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. Now it's strange that God said I'm gracious on that. The guy pledged his garment, and yet it says it's only covering for his skin. What do we mean here? What do we see here? And I'm sure he got more than one clothes, because he didn't give you his garment and walked away naked. So what are we looking at in this particular portion? And then it said you got to return it to going down of the sun, but he haven't paid you. So he pledged it for you to compensate him for something. And there's a lot of psychological things involved here, which I really don't got time to go into right now, because I want to get to another little portion for the next couple of minutes. But if he loan you a garment, give you a garment to pledge. Now I remember I grew up in a time, guys pawning leather coats, they suede coats. If you had a mink, which not too many people in the neighborhood had minks, you could pawn that at the pawn shop, just like you pawn gold and silver. You could pawn your coats, which actually at that time, some of the coats and stuff like that was worth more money than maybe some of the jewelry you might have had at that time. So yeah, pawn shops with leather coats, suede coats. I don't know too many about a mink coat. And people would sell, pawn that. And usually the pawn shops held their stuff for 6 months, and they charged you interest on top of that. So when we look at this area here about the garment that a person might have, and he pledges garment, so he's not naked. He's going back, but God said, nope, you got to return it back to him at the time. Why? Why is that? And we consider a lot of variations concerning it. That's why so much discussion on these areas. And the Creator said, I'm great, because I am gracious, because if you don't return it, I am gracious. It's going to cause you a problem. So now the Creator is gracious to him, And then you're saying this guy needed help. So where's the graciousness if he needed help? What do that mean? Because he came to me in pledge a garment. And if I hold on to it, the Creator will come after me. But yet you say you're gracious. Are you not gracious with me? So those things we got to look at, in a sense. And then it says it's only covering. What do you mean? He don't have a house to live in? And one of the strangest things, wherein shall he sleep? Wherein shall he sleep? How, what the Creator saying now, his feelings is, man, I gave him my coat, I gave him whatever it was to hold for me. I can't come up with the money to supplying with that money at this time. So what I'm supposed to do, I can't really go to sleep because right now, and then imagine how you feel that if a man had to pawn the clothes off his body to get whatever he need to get, could be a pair of shoes or whatever the case is, then that the Creator letting you know it's a test for you to see if you're a humane individual. See, sometimes a guy will come to you and the Creator present that out as, are you is humane? Do you exercise any kind of godliness? All right, and then I'm gonna skip over here in this last portion here. Well, just about the last. In the 23rd chapter, it talks about false witnesses and stuff like that. I might, if questions come up, I'll talk on that. We're talking about 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the 23rd chapter, 14th verse. And I want to speak on that. And it said in the 15th verse, the feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, at the time appointed in the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, and the first fruits, and that the first fruits of thy labor, which thou sowest in the field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when thou gatherest in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year, all thy males shall appear before the Lord God. All right, so so now I skipped over the 10th verse, which is about the sabbatical year, but which is 6 years you sow in your land, and in the 7th year you let it go foul, and it's for everybody to eat from it, any amount. But here it is, the pilgrimage times, Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot are given agricultural terms here in this book. All right, and this is, we're reading about this prior to Leviticus. So just want to bring that out. Now I'm going to the last portion, the 24th verse. 24th chapter. And unto Moses he said, come up unto the Lord, thou and Nadab, thou and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near unto the Lord, but they shall not come near. Neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the ordinances, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord has spoken will we do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent the young men of the children of Israel, who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings and oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood dashed against the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that the Lord has spoken, we will do and obey. That's in the 7th verse. Nasik Wanishma. Only time you find that term here. Now, this is said before he went up to get the tablets. Now we're going when we read earlier the book, said what book of the covenant did he have that he reading? When Moses had wrote some things down, so or did he write some things down prior? Or he already was told, my God. And he said it's the book of the covenant. Now we know he writing down later, certain things to be passed on. But when we look at this particular time, think about Matan Torah, talk about standing up before the people and telling them about the judgments of God. When did he get all this information? And what was the limitation of the judgments of God, the laws of God? And what was the subject matter? So here we got more of the subject matter here. And when we go further, we're talking about the 70 elders and Nadab and Abihu, along with their father, Aharon. And you say, okay, it's not, Ithamar and Eleazar old enough at that time? Or, we know that Pinchas is someone around it, or possibly maybe not be, I'm not sure. But you got Ithamar and Eleazar's on Ithamar at this particular point in time. So what is going on with them, at that time we mentioned, and the 70 elders, which is not the elders that was, Moses' spirit was dropped upon later on, is a different, and plus a different time dispensation, as we find out later on. And then it goes on to say that in the 9th verse, then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel, and they saw God, the God of Israel, and there was under his feet the like of paved works of sapphire stone, and the likes of the very heavens for clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel, he laid not his hand, and they beheld God, and did eat and drink. In the Hebrew, it used the word when they talk about and they beheld God. They used the word Wayakazon, Wayakazon, which from the word kazon, which means a vision, not seeing, but a vision. Like Isaiah had the vision when he was in the court of the holy court of the Creator, or Ezekiel vision. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, Moses ain't, you tell me a man can't see God and live." Well, what happened to these 70 elders then that was up here? And I remember, I don't even want to give them credit in naming them, but he said, I can show you in the book. I read the Bible. I read Bible. And the Bible, it said, that man can see God. That's what it said in the Bible. I'm going to take you way back up here. So people that, follow certain programs know who I might be talking about. Say, give me that chapter. But if you know the Hebrew and understand it in the language it says, they had a vision. That word is used for vision, and that's a perception. So, and unfortunately, a lot of Israelites believe that too, and which is, a shame. So when you go back to the language itself, you'll find out that the same word, when Isaiah talking about the Kazan, the vision of Isaiah, or the vision of Ezekiel, that same word is used there. It's not, a clear thing like I'm looking at, another individual, in that sense, or like Moses seeing certain hind parts in that area, in that area, and that is a whole nother story in itself. So I just wanted to bring that out, and they say God didn't put his hand, lift a hand against them. Why? You're in the presence of God and you got time to eat, and such a serious situation like that, you're going to take time to sit down and eat and drink. But yet you're in the presence of All High, and you can see this, and you can see His glory. Instead of asking questions, instead of saying, well, what the future hold, and everything like that, and taking advantage of that. And God said, and that's why I said, and God laid not his hand upon them. But let's look at it further. In realization and looking at this here stuff, everybody that's mentioned, including this, the 70 elders, none of them made it into the land. See, so and that means Moshe didn't make it into the land. Aaron didn't make it into the land. We know Nadab and Abihu died out right away, in the first year. And those 70 elders did not make it into the land. And those guys that set up the 12 pillars for the, young men that set up the 12 pillars, they didn't make it into the land, at that time. So and sometimes we don't take advantage of one of the most advantageous spots. And I'm going to go right here in the 12th verse, try to finish it out. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount and be there, and I will give thee the table of stone. That let you know that now at this point in time, Moses getting ready to ascend to get the tablets. With all this being transferred down there, now he getting ready to go and get his tablet. And it said, and the Lord and the commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. I mean, right in there, that you didn't teach them what I wrote yet. You teaching them what I told you to tell them, but not what I wrote. That's what the Creator telling them right now. When we get into the 13th verse, and Moses rose up, and Joshua his minister, and Moses went up into the Mount of God, and unto the elders he said, tarry ye here for us until we come back unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. Whosoever have a cause, let him come near unto them. That means right in there, Moses saying they're capable of answering of dealing with the situation right now. Two people left in charge, Aaron and Hur. Now, we don't know who Hur, we read about Hur before when so he had to be an important man. And we read about his descendant, Bezalel, and we Hur was from the tribe of Judah. But a lot we don't know about him, but other than his oral interpretation. And then in the 15th verse, Moses went up into the mount, and the cloud covered the mount, and the glory of the Lord abode upon the mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days, and the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. So that's how long they were staying there before Moses actually, got ready to really make an audience with the Creator, and a real up close and personal. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. That's what they saw. The Israelites saw it. Say, now Moses went in that. So this sets the stage about, hey, how this man gonna survive and all that kind of stuff like that. We just heard stuff. We know what fire looked like, So how do you go into a, what look like a volcano, a furnace? And it goes on to say, and Moses entered the midst of the cloud and went up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. That's how that particular portion ends. There's a lot of information in here, but one of the things I want to bring out is that it's only after the elders had their revelation and Aaron was there. And it sets the stage before we get to the sin of the egel, the sin of the golden calf, that he going up there and he was designated to go up there, and he was going up there for a purpose. And they knew what he was going to get from the beginning. So they didn't know that he doesn't go up there to talk with God. They're going there to receive something. So they expected something tangible coming back, that was unique. And so we don't talk about that. We just think about Moses going up to get information, come on down, talk, blase, blase, blase. But he getting some written documentation, but he also getting a lot of explanation on the mountain that we read about later on concerning the Mishkan and concerning a whole lot of other stuff that we didn't see already. And so with that, one of the things about the servants, and before I end this here, just a few minutes, is that when we think about the Haftorah to go along with the book of Jeremiah, and we start off with Hebrew servants, one of the things we learn here is that when Zedekiah, the last king, that he didn't let the servants go free in the year of the Yovel. And one of the things about the Yovel, why would God permit slavery and servitude, and knowing that, you become a slave to the slave when you got to take care of them. You got a lot of responsibilities, and you have a lot of limitations concerning that individual. Well, one of the things that caused the temple to be destroyed was that Zedekiah, the last king, already decide, they make a covenant and cut a covenant with Jeremiah, who he didn't like that much, and everything concerning letting all the servants go free in the year of the, proclaim liberty. And liberty was not only for the slaves, but for them. Saying, and if we check the language out, it's in the Hebrew, it's freeing them from yourself, proclaiming liberty for you as an individual, not as a collective, as an individual. And they refused to do that. And if they let them go, they wind back and come back and get them. Now, what's relationship here is that this relate to Pharaoh. Pharaoh let us go. And then him and the servants said, what we done? The king and all the servants and nobles said, Asalim said, let them go, And when they let them go, they went back and snatched them up. When a slave run away in our way of life in the law, they not, supposed to be returned to the master. So that was the beginning and end. So God permits certain things so we would come to realize that I don't need that, like polygamy, having more than one wife. It's permitted, but the headaches that could come with it, and how do you get them? That could be a problem, but it's permitted, and it's permitted in our way of life. And it takes the individual to realize, hey, could I still maintain this, throughout maybe 40 years, 50 years, or however I live when I got this wife? So these things here we got to consider going forward. God will permit certain things for man to come to the realization that I need to streamline and be circumspect concerning myself and my relationship to God and the society I'm in. With that, I hope you guys saw what I said. Any mistakes have been my own, and I agree to everybody. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thank you all for joining us once again. I hope that everyone has a blessed night's sleep. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. May the Most High God bless you and keep you. Shalom, shalom.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it